So we'll talk about the clients, and then we'll talk about the infrastructure side you're building as well, because that's the hidden story, which is massive. But on the client side, did you see the light bulb moment happen, the light switch turn on as soon as regulation changed? What happened?
Raoul Paul talks about Bitcoin and crypto. He shares big ideas, smart moves, and future trends. Let's dive in and learn.
And I've always said it was a parallel financial system that got built, and we're now migrating across. And what we're about to do is migrate the cash system onto stablecoins. I mean, it's staggering, but it's coming. And when you've got the government talking about deficit financing, and everyone kind of knows that it's debasement, it'll only accelerate the adoption curve because it is the only way out. It's this capitalism eating capitalism. Well, here's the newest form, and it's going to happen. I think the big picture part is, look, from our work, we kind of noticed the business cycle structure. We're both business cycle analysts. We've both been looking at them for a long time. It changed after 2008, and it became like a metronome every 4 years. That's only happened once in the past, which was the 1950s and 60s, where it became very, very cyclical. But this is perfectly cyclical. And it got me thinking for a while, what the hell? So many of us didn't understand what happened to asset prices after 2008. We kind of knew quantitative easing was happening. We kind of knew stuff, but we didn't figure it out. And what I suddenly realized is that in 2008, we had a debt jubilee. And in fact, it was just forgiveness on interest. You don't pay interest payments. Remember, we did that over COVID, exactly the same mechanism, no interest payments. So no interest payments allowed every government who had basically, they'd all gone over 100% of GDP in debt. So all economic activity, all economic growth was used to paying of debts. So what they all did was basically restructure their debts between 3 and 5 years, creating an almost perfect 4-year cycle. And then when you look at the debts today, we're in that 4th year now, where the final part, the larger part of the debt is due. And what we found is they start injecting liquidity over a period of 3 years, reaching maximum liquidity. That liquidity injection never really gets taken back. Some gets taken back in the bear market years when they're withdrawing liquidity, raising interest rates, trying to slow the economic cycle because of inflation or whatever. But over time, liquidity keeps rising. It's rising at a rate of about 8% a year. And that is, in fact, the debasement rate of fiat currency. And what happens is, and this is the bit that gets contentious with people and they hate it, if you divide an asset by the global liquidity, you get to see whether it's outperformed. The debasement.
People hate that chart.
They hate it. Yeah, it is the best chart in the world because it then tells you, okay, if I'm to allocate to the S&P 500, I'm basically breaking even versus debasement. So the S&P 500 is not really adding much value. Well, when you look at the Euro stocks and other markets, which are priced in their local currencies, you put them in dollars, they look similar. All the markets look very similar once you adjust for debasement. So that was interesting to me. Gold, complete almost flat line, really, versus debasement, as it should be, right? That's gold's job. It's to be the stable currency.
How high could Bitcoin go in 2025? That question is hotter than ever, and with good reason. After years of wild ups and downs, Bitcoin remains a powerful force in both institutional finance and retail investing. It's volatile, it's unpredictable, but it's also evolving fast. Since 2020, Bitcoin has shown nearly 4 times the volatility of major stock indices, keeping traders and investors on edge. And while U.S. regulations like the Genius Act aim to bring some order, they might actually increase risk by tying crypto more closely to traditional markets. Despite its reputation as a hedge, Bitcoin often behaves more like a turbocharged tech stock. When the Fed raises interest rates, BTC usually drops as investors flee to safer ground. But when rates fall, or even the hint of a rate cut hits the news, Bitcoin tends to surge, pulling in capital from all corners. The real game changer, Bitcoin ETFs. Since their approval in January 2024, massive amounts of institutional money have poured in. Giants like BlackRock and Fidelity now hold Bitcoin for ETF products, driving prices higher and bringing legitimacy to the space. So how high can BTC go? Some predict $200,000. Others say $500,000. And a few, like Plan B, believe we could even see 7 figures. Buckle up, 2025 might be wild.
Trump came in, the markets reacted, same fear about tariffs, same thing, the dollar went up, everything else, and the same thing happened this time around. I mean, people are people. And what happened is the dollar ripped in the back end of 2016, it ripped in the back end of 2024. The dollar ripping is a tightening of financial conditions that play through markets and the economy 3 months later, which is why we had the correction in the first quarter. We showed you all of this as part of the M2 thing. Anyway, we said it at the time. We've been tracking this before the dollar topped out and said, he's going to go for a weak dollar. They said they want a weak dollar, and fuck me, the dollar's been weak. It's been an extraordinary weakness. Now, this is not some structural, ever-ending weakness. That'll come at some point when we change the rules of the game. Right now, cyclical weakness being pushed by Trump and Bessons, and it will continue to do so. And that is an amazing tailwind for markets and risk. Bonds, everyone's like, oh my God, bond yields, every time they go up, they're going to break out, they're going to go 6%. All the drama of the macro people. It's like last time, bonds were in a range for Trump. They'll probably be in a range for Trump this time. He'll get the front end lower and the yield curve will steepen. He will force the front end lower by changing the Fed chair, etc. And so bond yields are really not a big deal for this equation. So let's not worry about that shit. That's the macro doomers on X. We'll talk about that. Are you starting to see corporates using stablecoins? I've just, because for me, there's many of these multinationals that have all sorts of payment flows everywhere. They pay enormous amounts of banking fees. There's a lot of restrictions. So if you're a metals and minings company, you're in Angola and you're in Tanzania and whatever, and you need to move money around. Are you starting to see the rise of corporates yet?
Bitcoin is hovering just under $119,000, and new data suggests we may be nearing the peak of this current market cycle. Analysts at CryptoQuant are closely watching the MVRV ratio's 365-day moving average, a powerful on-chain signal that often reveals when the market is overheating. According to CryptoQuant contributor Yonsei Dent, this indicator is following a pattern strikingly similar to Bitcoin's 2021 double top cycle, where the second peak marked the bull market's climax. If history repeats, the cycle top could arrive as early as late August, with a second peak possibly forming by mid-September. MVRV measures how much profit holders are sitting on compared to the price they paid. Right now, it's climbing into the same overheated territory that preceded major tops in the past. Dent advises caution, pointing out that while this indicator can lag slightly, it has a solid track record of flagging when sentiment gets too hot. Meanwhile, global factors are adding fuel. A new US-EU trade deal improves sentiment over the weekend, pushing Bitcoin higher. Technical signals show Bitcoin consolidating just below $120,000, with room for either a breakout or a pullback. If Bitcoin clears 120K, 125K could come quickly. But if it stumbles, support near 114K could be tested first.
If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.